The black town car idling at the curb looked exactly like the one her rideshare app promised. And Maya was already 15 minutes late for her job interview, so she yanked open the door and threw herself into the back seat without a second glance. "Thank God you're here," she breathed, adjusting her portfolio bag on her lap. "Can we please hurry? I'm interviewing at the Mendoza Gallery in 20 minutes and traffic is already terrible." The partition between the front and back seats was up, which seemed odd, but Maya was too frazzled to care. She smoothed down her navy blazer and checked her reflection in the window, tucking a strand of dark hair behind her ear. This interview could change everything. After 3 years of working retail at a department store while painting in her cramped apartment at night, she finally had a shot at being an assistant curator at one of the most prestigious galleries in Chicago. The car pulled smoothly into traffic, and Maya exhaled slowly, trying to calm her racing heart. She'd practiced her talking points 100 times, memorized the gallery's recent exhibitions, researched their aesthetic preferences. She was ready. She had to be ready. They'd been driving for about 5 minutes when Maya realized they were heading in the wrong direction. She leaned forward, frowning. "Excuse me, the Mendoza Gallery is in River North." "You're going south." No response from the driver. The partition remained firmly up. Maya's stomach dropped. She pulled out her phone and opened the Rideshare app, and her heart stopped completely. The car was still 3 blocks away from her pickup location, the little icon sitting stationary on the map. The driver had sent 2 messages asking where she was. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. Maya looked around the car's interior with new eyes. The leather was butter-soft, clearly expensive. There was a built-in bar with crystal decanters. This wasn't a rideshare. This was someone's private car. She knocked on the partition. "Excuse me, there's been a mistake. I'm not supposed to be in this car." The partition slid down halfway, and Maya found herself looking at an older man in a crisp chauffeur's uniform. His expression was carefully neutral. "I'm aware, miss, but Mr. Donovan instructed me to continue to his office." "Mr. Donovan? Who is Mr. Donovan? I don't know any Mr. Donovan." Maya's voice was climbing toward panic. "Please, I need to get out. I have an interview. This is a huge misunderstanding." "We'll be there in 3 minutes, miss. Mr. Donovan will explain everything." The partition slid back up with an air of finality. Maya sat back, her mind racing. What kind of person just let a stranger stay in their car? Was this how people got kidnapped? Should she call the police? But they were driving through downtown Chicago in broad daylight. Not exactly a typical kidnapping scenario. The car pulled smoothly to a stop in front of a gleaming high-rise, one of those buildings that looked like it cost more per square foot than most people made in a year. The door opened and a hand appeared, palm up. "Miss, if you would." Maya gathered her bag and stepped out, ready to bolt, but the chauffeur gestured toward the entrance where a security guard waited with the door open. Running would just make her look crazy. Besides, she could handle whatever this was, tell this Mr. Donovan he had the wrong person, and still make it to her interview if she was quick. The elevator ride to the top floor felt eternal. Maya shifted her weight from foot to foot, watching the numbers climb. 40th floor, 50th, 60th. When the doors finally opened, she stepped into a reception area that looked like it belonged in an architectural magazine. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a stunning view of Lake Michigan, and everything was decorated in shades of gray and white with clean, modern lines. A woman at the desk looked up with a knowing smile. "Miss Chen, Mr. Donovan is expecting you, straight through. How do you know my name?" Maya asked, but the receptionist just gestured toward the double doors. Maya pushed through them and found herself in an office that was probably larger than her entire apartment. Behind an enormous desk sat a man who made her breath catch, despite her irritation and confusion. He was maybe 30, 32 at most, with dark hair that looked carelessly perfect and sharp features that belonged on a movie screen. His suit probably cost more than her rent. When he looked up, his eyes were in startling shade of blue-gray, and something in his expression shifted from serious to amused. "Miss Chen, please sit down." "I'd rather stand," Maya said, gripping her portfolio bag. "Look, I don't know who you are or what's going on, but I got into your car by mistake. I thought it was my rideshare. So I'm just going to go, and we can both forget this ever happened." Sebastian Donovan. He stood and extended his hand across the desk. When Maya didn't take it, he lowered it slowly. "And I know exactly what happened. My driver called me the moment you got in the car. Then, why didn't you have him stop and let me out?" "Because you said you were going to the Mendoza Gallery for an interview." Sebastian walked around the desk, leaning against it casually. "And I happen to own the Mendoza Gallery, along with 6 others across the country. I was curious what kind of person hijacks a stranger's car to get to a job interview." Maya's mouth opened, but no sound came out. Sebastian Donovan. The name clicked into place now. She'd read about him when researching the gallery. He was some kind of art world prodigy, built a gallery empire before he was 30, known for having an uncanny eye for emerging artists. There had been a profile in Art Forum that mentioned he was notoriously difficult to impress. "I didn't hijack anything," Maya finally managed. "Your car was parked exactly where my rideshare was supposed to be. It was an honest mistake. I'm not upset about it." Sebastian tilted his head, studying her. "In fact, since you're already here and since you're clearly very motivated to make this interview, why don't we do it now? Consider this your interview." "Now, here." Maya looked around the office. "I was supposed to meet with Elena Rodriguez, the head curator. Elena reports to me. If I hire you, she'll work with you. If I don't, there's no point wasting her time." His tone wasn't unkind, just matter-of-fact. "Unless you'd prefer to reschedule, though I should mention I'm leaving for New York tonight and won't be back for 2 weeks. Maya's mind spun. This was not how she'd imagined this going, but she'd already missed her original interview time, and who knew if she'd get another chance. "Fine. Okay, let's do this." Sebastian gestured to the chair across from his desk, and this time Maya sat. She pulled out her portfolio, trying to channel all the confidence she'd practiced at home. He settled back into his chair, those sharp eyes fixed on her with an intensity that made her skin warm. "Tell me why you want to work at Mendoza." Maya launched into her prepared speech about the gallery's commitment to emerging artists and contemporary voices, but Sebastian held up a hand after about 30 seconds. "That's very nice, but it's rehearsed. It's what you think I want to hear. Tell me why you really want this job." Maya bit her lip. This was not going according to plan. She looked out the window at the lake, gathering her thoughts, then back at him. "Because I'm tired of watching other people decide what art matters. I'm tired of seeing the same privileged voices get amplified while incredible artists go unnoticed because they don't have the right connections or didn't go to the right schools. I want to work at Mendoza because you actually take risks on unknown artists, and I want to be part of finding the next voice that changes how people see the world." Something shifted in Sebastian's expression. "You're an artist yourself." It wasn't a question, but Maya nodded anyway. "Painter. Not that it's relevant to the curator position." It's absolutely relevant. He leaned forward. Show me your work. What? No, I'm here for the curator job, not to be critiqued. Miss Chen, I didn't get where I am by following conventional rules. You hijacked my car. I'm hijacking your interview. Show me your portfolio. Maya's hands trembled slightly as she opened her portfolio bag. She hadn't planned on showing her own work, had only brought it because she'd been working on a piece until 3 in the morning and hadn't had time to put it away. She pulled out her iPad and pulled up her digital portfolio, then slid it across the desk. Sebastian was silent as he scrolled through the images. Maya tried to read his expression, but his face had gone carefully blank in that way people do when they're seeing something that affects them and don't want to show it. She'd painted cityscapes, but not the glossy, tourist version of Chicago. She painted the corners tourists never saw. Laundromats at 2 in the morning, empty diners in the rain, the beautiful loneliness of a city that never really slept. These are good, Sebastian said finally. Better than good. Why aren't you showing anywhere? Because I work 60 hours a week selling other people's art at Marshall Fields and barely have time to paint, let alone network or submit to galleries. Maya heard the bitterness in her own voice and tried to soften it. That's why I need this job. Better hours, better pay, and I'd actually be working with art that matters. Sebastian set down the tablet. The curator position pays $60,000 a year. You'd be working under Alina, helping with acquisitions, exhibition planning, artist relations. It's demanding work, long hours, especially during exhibition season. We'd expect you to travel occasionally for art fairs and artist studio visits. I can handle demanding work. I'm sure you can, considering you apparently hijack luxury cars when you're running late. The corner of his mouth quirked up, and Maya felt an answering smile tug at her own lips despite herself. Are you ever going to let that go? Probably not. It's the most interesting thing that's happened to me in months. Sebastian stood and walked to the window, hands in his pockets. I'm going to make you an offer, Miss Chen, but not for the curator position. Maya's heart sank. Oh, I want to show your work. 6 paintings, feature exhibition at Mendoza, opening in 3 months. We'll handle everything, marketing, the opening event, catalog. In exchange, I want first right of refusal on your next 20 pieces. The words didn't make sense at first. Maya stared at him, waiting for the punchline. You're joking. I never joke about art. Sebastian turned back to face her. You have a distinctive voice, the kind of thing that could really resonate with collectors, especially the younger ones who are tired of the same old gallery scene. I want to take a chance on you, but I need a job, I need steady income. I can't just paint and hope people buy my work. Then take both offers. Work as Alina's assistant curator for $60,000 a year and let me show your paintings. If they sell, you'll make commission on top of your salary. If they don't, you still have the job. Maya's mind was reeling. This morning she'd been panicking about making rent, and now a billionaire was offering to show her work in one of the city's best galleries while also giving her dream job. It felt surreal, like she'd accidentally stepped into someone else's life when she got into that town car. Why? She asked. You don't know me. You've only seen my work for 5 minutes. I've been in this business for almost a decade, Miss Chen. I know good art when I see it, and I know interesting people when I meet them. You're both. Sebastian returned to his desk and pulled out a business card and a pen. He wrote something on the back and handed it to her. That's my personal number. Take the weekend. Think about it. Call me Monday with your answer. Maya took the card, her fingers brushing his for just a moment. She felt the contact like a small electric shock. I don't need the weekend. Yes, to all of it. Yes. Sebastian's smile was slow and devastating. Excellent. You start Monday. Elena will handle the onboarding, but I'll work with you personally on preparing for your exhibition. Plan on meeting with me twice a week to discuss your progress. Twice a week? I thought you were going to New York for 2 weeks. I'll be back. I always come back. He extended his hand again, and this time Maya shook it. His grip was firm and warm. I have a feeling you're going to be very good at this, Miss Chen. Maya. If we're going to be working together, you should call me Maya. Maya. He said her name like he was testing how it felt. Sebastian, and I apologize in advance for my driver. He tends to follow my instructions a bit too literally. Maya laughed, the tension finally breaking. Tell him next time a panicked woman jumps in the car, he should probably check if she's actually supposed to be there. Where's the fun in that? Maya left the building in a daze, her phone clutched in her hand. She made it 3 blocks before she had to stop and lean against a building, trying to process what had just happened. She'd hijacked a billionaire's car, turned it into a job interview, and somehow ended up with both her dream job and her first real exhibition. She pulled out her phone to call her best friend Jenna, but hesitated. It felt too big, too fragile to put into words yet. Instead, she looked at the business card still clutched in her other hand. Sebastian Donovan's personal number, written in bold, confident handwriting. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. My driver will pick you up Monday morning at 8. Actually pick you up this time, from your actual address. Please don't hijack any other cars between now and then. Maya found herself grinning at her phone like an idiot in the middle of the sidewalk. She saved the number and typed back, "No promises." Apparently hijacking cars is my new strategy for career advancement. 3 dots appeared immediately then. If it works, it works. See you Monday, Maya. She walked the rest of the way to the train, her feet barely touching the ground. It wasn't until she was halfway home that she realized she'd been so flustered she'd forgotten to ask what time to arrive, or what the dress code was, or any of the normal questions a person asks about a new job. She'd have to figure it out this weekend. When she got back to her apartment, a cramped studio in Logan Square that she'd been sharing with more cockroaches than she cared to admit, she finally called Jenna. Please tell me the interview went well, Jenna answered. I've been stress-eating gummy bears all afternoon. I got the job, Maya said, kicking off her shoes and collapsing onto her second-hand couch. Also, I hijacked a billionaire's car and now he wants to show my paintings. There was a long pause. I'm coming over. Start from the beginning and don't leave anything out. An hour later, Jenna was sitting cross-legged on Maya's floor, eating leftover Chinese food straight from the container while Maya paced and told the whole story for the 3rd time. So let me get this straight, Jenna said. You accidentally got into Sebastian Donovan's private car. He thought it was so interesting he interviewed you on the spot, gave you the curator job, and then offered you an exhibition. When you say it like that, it sounds completely insane. Because it is completely insane. Jenna pointed her chopsticks at Maya. This is like something out of a movie. Are you sure he's not some kind of serial killer who lures in artists? He's a very well-known gallery owner, Jenna. I think someone would have noticed if he was killing people. Still, be careful. Jenna's expression turned more serious. I know you're excited and you should be. This is huge. But billionaires don't just hand out jobs and exhibitions to people who accidentally get in their cars. What does he want? To show good art. Maya sat down next to her friend. I know it seems weird, but his reputation backs it up. He's known for taking chances on unknowns. That's literally his whole thing. Okay, but was he cute? Because based on your description of his devastating smile, I'm getting the vibe that he was cute. Maya felt her cheeks warm. That's not relevant. Oh my God, he was super cute. Maya Chen, are you blushing? I am not. And even if he was attractive, which I'm not confirming, it doesn't matter. He's my boss. And probably a workaholic and way out of my league. Since when do you have a league? You're amazing. Jenna tossed a fortune cookie at her. But seriously, just be careful with the personal stuff. Keep it professional. Rich guys can be weird about power dynamics. There are no personal dynamics. There's no dynamics at all. It's just a job. Even as Maya said it, she remembered the way Sebastian had looked at her work, the intensity in his eyes, the way her name had sounded in his voice. She shook off the thought. Jenna was right. This was a professional opportunity, nothing more. She'd worked too hard to get here to mess it up by developing some ridiculous crush on her billionaire boss. The weekend passed in a blur of nervous energy. Maya painted until her hands cramped, trying to build up enough work for the exhibition. She researched Sebastian online, finding dozens of articles about his business acumen and his eye for talent. There were photos of him at gallery openings, always in a sharp suit, usually alone or talking to much older collectors. No mention of a girlfriend or wife, though that didn't mean anything. Monday morning arrived too quickly. Maya stood in front of her closet for 20 minutes, trying to figure out what a gallery assistant curator wore. She settled on black pants, a silk blouse, and the blazer from Friday. Professional, artistic, but not too casual. At exactly 8, her phone buzzed. The town car was outside. This time, when Maya slid into the backseat, she recognized the driver, who turned to nod at her. "Good morning, Miss Chen. I apologize for the confusion on Friday." "It was my fault," Maya said. "I should have checked before jumping in. Still, I should have confirmed. Mr. Donovan was very clear about that." He pulled smoothly into traffic. "We're heading to the gallery this morning. Mr. Donovan will meet you there." The Mendoza Gallery was in a converted warehouse in River North, all exposed brick and soaring ceilings. Maya had been there a few times as a visitor, but walking in as an employee felt completely different. The front desk receptionist, a young guy with purple hair and multiple ear piercings, looked up with a friendly smile. "You must be Maya. I'm Caleb. Alina's waiting for you in her office, 2nd floor, first door on the right." Maya climbed the stairs, her portfolio bag bouncing against her hip. She found Alina Rodriguez exactly where Caleb said, sitting at a desk surrounded by what looked like organized chaos. Catalogs, photographs, sketches, and fabric samples. Alina was in her mid-40s, with silver streaks in her black hair and the kind of effortless style Maya aspired to. She stood when Maya knocked, coming around the desk with her hand extended. "Maya, wonderful to meet you. Sebastian called me Friday afternoon and told me all about your unconventional interview." Her eyes sparkled with amusement. "I have to say, in 15 years of working with him, I've never seen him quite so enthusiastic about a new hire." "I'm still processing that I got hired at all," Maya admitted. "Well, you're here now, so let's get you oriented." Alina spent the next 2 hours walking Maya through the gallery's systems, introducing her to the small staff, and explaining the current exhibition schedule. They were between shows at the moment, with a photography exhibition opening in 3 weeks. You'll be helping me with every aspect of the gallery operation, Alina explained as they walked through the main gallery space. Acquisitions, exhibition planning, artist relations, event coordination. It's a lot, but Sebastian seems to think you can handle it. I can, Maya said firmly. I believe you. Anyone bold enough to hijack his car probably doesn't scare easily. Alina's phone buzzed and she glanced at it. Speaking of Sebastian, he's here. Conference room, 3rd floor. Maya's heart did an odd little flip. She'd been half hoping he'd still be in New York, giving her time to settle into the job before seeing him again. No such luck. The conference room had the same enormous windows as Sebastian's office, overlooking the Chicago River. Sebastian was standing at the window when Maya entered, phone to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. He turned when he heard the door, raising one finger in a "just a minute" gesture. Maya tried not to stare, but it was difficult. He looked different than he had on Friday somehow. Still in a suit, but his tie was loosened and his sleeves were rolled up, showing forearms that suggested he did more than sit behind a desk. His hair was slightly messed up, like he'd been running his hands through it. He ended the call and slipped the phone into his pocket. Maya, how's your first day going? Good. Alina's been great. I'm learning a lot. Good. He gestured to the table where Maya saw her own paintings blown up as high-resolution prints. I've been thinking about your exhibition. I want to do something unconventional with the space, really let the work breathe. What do you think about showing them in the smaller gallery upstairs? More intimate, forces people to really look. Maya moved closer to study the prints. Seeing her work displayed like this, professional and real, made her throat tight. The smaller gallery might work. These pieces are personal. They'd feel lost in the main space. Exactly what I was thinking. Sebastian pulled out a chair and sat, gesturing for Maya to do the same. Walk me through your process. What inspires these? Why cityscapes? For the next hour they talked about her work. Sebastian asked thoughtful questions, pushed her to articulate things she'd only felt instinctively. He understood art in a way that went beyond commercial value, could talk about composition and emotional resonance with equal ease. Maya found herself relaxing, getting passionate about her vision, even laughing at his occasional dry observations. You've thought about this a lot, Maya said at one point. I expected a gallery owner to be more focused on sales and marketing. I am focused on those things, but they're useless if you don't understand what you're selling. Sebastian leaned back in his chair. I started out wanting to be a painter, actually. Spent 2 years after college in my studio, churning out terrible abstract expressionism, convinced I was going to be the next big thing. What happened? I realized I was a much better curator than artist. I could see talent in others, understand what made something work, but I couldn't create it myself, so I pivoted. He shrugged. Best decision I ever made, even if my ego took a hit. There was something vulnerable in the admission that made Maya see him differently. Not just the confident billionaire, but someone who'd also struggled with wanting to create, with finding his place in the art world. For what it's worth, Maya said, you're a really good curator. The exhibitions here are always thoughtful. High praise from someone who hijacks cars. His eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled, and Maya felt that warm flip in her stomach again. Her phone buzzed with a text from Alina. Stop hogging my assistant, Donovan. She has work to do. Sebastian's phone buzzed a second later with what was probably the same message. He laughed, standing up. Alina's subtle as always. Go ahead. I'll email you my notes on the exhibition timeline. Maya gathered her things and headed for the door, but Sebastian's voice stopped her. Maya, I'm glad you said yes to all of it. She turned back. He was watching her with that intense focus again, like she was a painting he was trying to understand. Me too, she said softly. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Maya's days were packed with work at the gallery, helping Alina coordinate the photography exhibition, reaching out to artists, processing sales. The job was everything she'd hoped: challenging, creative, surrounded by art and interesting people. She loved it. Twice a week, she met with Sebastian to discuss her exhibition. Those meetings were supposed to be about logistics and planning, but they always turned into longer conversations about art, about the city, about life. Maya learned that Sebastian had grown up in Boston, old money that he'd turned into even more money through his galleries. He dropped out of Harvard Business School to open his first gallery at 23, which had nearly given his parents a collective heart attack. They came around when I made my first million, he said one afternoon, as they hung new pieces in the upstairs gallery for Maya's exhibition. Money has a way of validating unconventional choices. Do you see them often? Maya asked, holding a painting steady while Sebastian marked the wall. Holidays, mostly. We're not close. They never really understood why I cared so much about art. He stepped back, checking the alignment. What about your family? My parents are in California. They emigrated from Taiwan before I was born, worked incredibly hard to give me opportunities. They wanted me to be a doctor or lawyer, something respectable. Maya smiled ruefully. Instead, I became an artist who could barely pay rent. And now you're both an artist and a curator. Respectable enough. Getting there. Maya helped him lift the painting onto the hook. They're flying in for the exhibition opening. First time they'll see my work displayed in a real gallery. No pressure then. None at all, Maya laughed, but her stomach twisted with nerves. The exhibition was in 2 weeks and she was terrified. What if no one came? What if people came and hated her work? What if she'd somehow fooled Sebastian into thinking she had talent? As if reading her mind, Sebastian said, "You're going to be brilliant. Stop worrying." How did you know I was worrying? You get this little crease between your eyebrows when you're anxious. You've been doing it all week. He reached out and smoothed the spot with his thumb, a casual gesture that felt suddenly intimate in the quiet gallery. Maya froze, hyper-aware of how close they were standing, of the warmth of his hand. Sebastian seemed to realize it at the same moment, pulling back quickly. Sorry, that was inappropriate. It's fine, Maya said, but her voice came out breathless. The moment stretched between them, charged with something neither of them seemed ready to name. Then Sebastian's phone rang, breaking the spell. He answered it, switching instantly into business mode, and Maya took the opportunity to escape downstairs. She found Alina in her office reviewing a contract. Alina took one look at her face and raised an eyebrow. Everything okay? Fine. Why? You look flustered. I'm not flustered. I'm just thinking about the exhibition. Maya sat down, trying to calm her racing heart. Alina, can I ask you something? Does Sebastian do this with all the artists he shows? The hands-on involvement, the personal attention. Alina set down her pen, studying Maya carefully. He's involved with every exhibition, but not usually this involved. Why? Just curious. Maya, I've worked with Sebastian for a long time. He's a good man, brilliant at what he does, and he keeps his professional and personal lives very separate. But I've also never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Alina's expression was kind but serious. Just be careful. Gallery relationships can get complicated. There's no relationship. We're just working together. If you say so. Alina didn't sound convinced. But if that changes, talk to him about it. Sebastian values honesty above everything else. Maya nodded, but her mind was spinning. Was there something between her and Sebastian, or was she imagining it? Every conversation felt charged, every accidental touch electric. But he was her boss, a billionaire with a gallery empire. She was an artist barely out of retail. The gap between them felt impossible to cross. She threw herself into preparing for the exhibition, painting until 3 in the morning, perfecting every detail. The upstairs gallery was slowly transforming into something magical. Sebastian had been right about the smaller space. Her cityscapes glowed against the white walls, each one given room to breathe. 1 week before the opening, Maya was at the gallery late, adjusting the lighting on her favorite piece, a night scene of an empty diner. Everyone else had gone home, but she couldn't leave until it was perfect. You're going to wear yourself out. Maya jumped, turning to find Sebastian standing in the doorway. He'd loosened his tie and looked tired, shadows under his eyes. I thought everyone went home, Maya said. I had calls with our London gallery. Time zones are a pain. He walked into the gallery, studying the walls. It looks incredible, Maya, better than I imagined. You don't have to say that. I'm not saying it to be nice. I'm saying it because it's true. He turned to face her. Why don't you believe in yourself? You're so confident about everything else, but when it comes to your own talent, you doubt everything. Maya wrapped her arms around herself. Because I've spent 3 years being told I'm not good enough. Gallery after gallery rejecting my submissions. Professors in college telling me I'd never make it as an artist. At some point you start to believe it. Then stop listening to them and start listening to me. Sebastian moved closer. You're talented, Maya, really talented. This exhibition is going to launch your career, and it has nothing to do with me or my gallery, it's all you. How can you be so sure? Because I know art and I know people, and you're special. He said it simply, like it was an undeniable fact. Maya felt tears prick her eyes. She'd been holding so much tension, so much fear, and hearing him say that made something break loose in her chest. Thank you, she whispered. Come here. Sebastian pulled her into a hug, and Maya let herself lean into his chest, breathing in the scent of his cologne. His arms around her felt solid and safe, and she realized how much she'd been craving this. Someone who believed in her, who saw her. They stood like that for a long moment, and when Maya pulled back to look up at him, the expression on his face made her breath catch. He was looking at her like she was one of her paintings, something beautiful and worth studying. Maya, he said softly, and then his phone rang again, shattering the moment. Sebastian swore under his breath, pulling out his phone. I have to take this. London emergency. He answered it, already walking away, but he glanced back at her once with an expression she couldn't quite read. Maya stood alone in the gallery, her heart pounding. Something had almost happened. Something that couldn't happen, shouldn't happen. But God, she wanted it to. She went home that night and couldn't sleep, tossing and turning, replaying every interaction with Sebastian. The way he looked at her, the way he touched her, casual but charged, the way he said her name. She was falling for him, had probably been falling for him since that first day in his office. And it was the most inconvenient thing that had ever happened to her. The exhibition opening arrived with terrifying speed. Maya's parents flew in the night before, and she met them for dinner at a restaurant near their hotel. Her mother, elegant and practical, surveyed her with the same critical eye she'd been using since Maya was a child. You look tired, her mother said in Mandarin. Are you eating enough? I'm fine, Mom, just busy with the exhibition. "This gallery owner, Mr. Donovan, he's treating you well," her father, quieter but equally concerned, asked. "He's been great, really supportive." Maya pushed her food around her plate. "You'll meet him tomorrow at the opening." "And this is a good job, stable?" Her mother always asked the practical questions. "Very stable." "The gallery is successful, the pay is good, and I'm learning so much." Maya didn't mention that she was also completely in love with her boss, because that seemed like it would worry them. The opening was scheduled for 7. Maya arrived at noon to help with final preparations and found Sebastian already there, directing the catering staff. He'd worn a different suit, charcoal gray that made his eyes look darker. When he saw her, his face transformed into a smile that made her knees weak. "Today's the day," he said. "Ready?" Absolutely terrified. "Good, that means you care." He handed her a cup of coffee from the tray he was holding. "Drink this. You're going to need the caffeine." The next few hours were a blur of last-minute adjustments. Elena arrived with the press list, Caleb coordinated with the bartenders, and Maya tried not to throw up from nerves. At 6:30, she went to the bathroom to change into the dress she'd brought. A simple black sheath that Jenna had helped her pick out, elegant without trying too hard. When she emerged, Sebastian was waiting in the hallway. His eyes widened slightly when he saw her. "You look beautiful," he said, and it didn't sound like a professional compliment. It sounded personal, intimate, real. "Thank you, you clean up pretty well yourself." "I try," he offered his arm. "Come on, let's go show Chicago what you can do." The opening was everything Maya had dreamed and more. The gallery filled with people, collectors, other artists, critics, friends. Her parents arrived looking slightly overwhelmed but proud. Jenna showed up with a group of friends from their college days. And everywhere she looked, people were studying her paintings, discussing them seriously, pointing out details. Sebastian stayed close but not too close, introducing her to important collectors, guiding conversations without taking over. He had a gift for making her look good without diminishing his own role. When someone asked how he discovered her work, he told the car hijacking story with such charm that everyone laughed and looked at Maya with new interest. "You're quite the entrepreneur," one collector said, an older woman dripping in diamonds. "Most artists wait to be discovered. You went out and made it happen." "It was actually an accident," Maya started to say, but Sebastian smoothly interrupted. "Best accidents usually are. Maya has impeccable timing in art and in life." By 8 o'clock, 3 paintings had sold. By 9, it was 5. Maya felt like she was floating, accepting congratulations from strangers, watching people genuinely connect with her work. Her mother pulled her aside at one point, her eyes shiny with unshed tears. "I'm proud of you," she said in Mandarin. "I didn't always understand your choices, but I see now. This is what you were meant to do." Maya hugged her mother tightly, feeling like something had finally come full circle. Around 10, the crowd started to thin. Maya found herself standing in front of her favorite painting, the diner scene, watching an older man study it intently. Sebastian appeared at her elbow. "That's Richard Morrison," he said quietly. "One of the most important collectors in the Midwest. If he buys something, it's a major stamp of approval." They watched as Richard continued to study the painting, then pulled out his phone to make a call. 5 minutes later, he approached Maya with his hand extended. "Miss Chen, I'd like to purchase this piece, and I'd like to commission 3 more in a similar style for my foundation's new building. Would you be interested in discussing terms?" Maya's brain short-circuited. A commission. A real commission from a major collector. She looked at Sebastian, who was grinning like he'd won the lottery himself. "Yes," she managed. "Absolutely yes." Richard shook her hand, then Sebastian's. "Donovan, you've done it again. I'll have my people contact you tomorrow about the details." When Richard walked away, Maya grabbed Sebastian's arm. "Did that just happen?" "That just happened. Maya, do you understand what this means? Richard Morrison doesn't commission unknown artists. This is going to open doors for you that most painters wait decades to access." "I can't believe it. I can't believe any of this." Maya looked around the gallery, at her paintings on the walls, at the red dots indicating sales, at the people still lingering to look at her work. "This morning, I was terrified no one would come. I told you to trust me." Sebastian's hand covered hers on his arm, warm and solid. "You're brilliant, Maya. It's time you started believing it." The way he was looking at her, the warmth in his voice, the pride in his expression, it all crashed over Maya at once. She was in love with him. Completely, irrevocably in love with her billionaire boss, who'd taken a chance on a girl who'd accidentally hijacked his car. The moment stretched between them, and Maya knew he felt it too. Could see it in the way his eyes darkened, the way his hand tightened on hers. But then Elena appeared with more collectors wanting to meet Maya, and the spell broke. The rest of the night passed in a happy blur. By the time the last guests left at midnight, all 6 paintings had sold, and Maya had collected business cards from a dozen collectors and curators. Elena, Caleb, and the rest of the staff left shortly after, leaving just Maya and Sebastian in the quiet gallery. "You should celebrate," Sebastian said, loosening his tie. "This is a major success." "I feel like I need to sleep for a week." Maya kicked off her heels, sighing with relief, "but also like I'm too wired to ever sleep again. I know the feeling." First big success is always intoxicating. Sebastian walked to the bar and poured 2 glasses of champagne, handing one to Maya. "To hijacking cars and taking chances. To patient billionaires who don't call the police when strangers invade their vehicles," Maya countered. They clinked glasses, and Maya took a sip, the bubbles fizzing on her tongue. They were alone in the gallery, the city lights glittering through the windows, and suddenly all the tension that had been building between them for weeks felt impossible to ignore. "Sebastian," Maya started, but he held up a hand. "I need to say something first, and I need you to just listen." He set down his glass and turned to face her fully. "I have a policy about not dating employees. It's a good policy, a necessary policy, and I've never broken it. But Maya, you're making me want to break every rule I've ever made." Maya's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it. "Sebastian, I know this is complicated. I know there's a power dynamic, and I would never want you to feel pressured or uncomfortable. If you don't feel the same way, we'll never speak of this again, and I swear it won't affect your job." He stepped closer. "But if there's any chance you feel even a fraction of what I'm feeling, I need to know. Because I can't keep pretending this is just professional anymore." Maya set down her own glass with shaking hands. "I've been falling for you since that first day in your office. Maybe even since the car ride, when I was too panicked to realize it. Every meeting, every conversation, every time you look at me like I'm something special, I fall a little more." She looked up at him. "But you're right, it's complicated. You're my boss. You gave me this opportunity. I don't want anyone to think I slept my way into this job. Anyone who knows you would never think that. Your talent speaks for itself." Sebastian reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering. "But I understand the concern. So here's what I'm proposing. We take this slow. We're honest with each other and with Elena. We don't hide it, but we're professional at work. And if at any point you feel uncomfortable or want to stop, we stop. No questions, no consequences. That sounds very reasonable and mature. I have my moments. His thumb traced along her jawline. So what do you think? Are you willing to take another chance, or have you used up all your boldness for the year? Maya laughed, feeling lighter than she had in weeks. I literally hijacked a car. I think I can handle dating my boss. Technically, you hijacked my car. I'm much less threatening. Sebastian leaned in slowly, giving her plenty of time to pull away. When she didn't, his lips met hers in a kiss that was gentle and questioning at first, then deeper as she responded. Maya's hands came up to his chest, feeling his heart racing under her palms. His arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer. The kiss felt like falling and flying at the same time, like every moment of tension between them had been building to this. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Sebastian rested his forehead against hers. I've wanted to do that for weeks. Me too, Maya admitted. Every meeting, every time you smiled at me, I wanted to just kiss you and see what happened. I like the initiative, but maybe don't jump me in the gallery. His eyes sparkled with amusement. We do have security cameras. Oh God. Maya buried her face in his chest, laughing. I didn't think about that. Don't worry, I'll delete the footage. He pressed a kiss to the top of her head. Come on, let me take you home. You've had a long day. They locked up the gallery and walked out to where Sebastian's car was waiting. This time, when Maya slid into the backseat, Sebastian followed, and she didn't have to pretend she wasn't thrilled about it. He kept his hand in hers the whole ride to her apartment, thumb tracing circles on her palm. I know this place probably looks terrible compared to what you're used to, Maya said as they pulled up to her building in Logan Square. Maya, I don't care where you live. Though I do think you can probably afford somewhere better now, considering tonight's sales. You're right. That's going to take some getting used to. She looked at her shabby building with new eyes. I should probably find a better studio space too, somewhere with actual ventilation and not broken windows. I might know a place. One of my buildings downtown has a few artist studios. I could check if there's availability. He squeezed her hand. But that's a conversation for tomorrow. Tonight, you should rest and celebrate. Are you going to kiss me goodnight? Maya asked, feeling bold in the darkness of the car. I was planning on it. Sebastian cupped her face in his hands and kissed her again, slower this time, savoring it. Good night, Maya. I'll see you Monday. Good night, Sebastian. Maya floated up to her apartment, still tasting champagne and Sebastian on her lips. Jenna called immediately, demanding details, and Maya spent an hour recounting the night, leaving out the part about kissing Sebastian because she wanted to keep it to herself for just a little longer. The weekend passed in a happy haze. Maya's parents flew back to California, and she spent Sunday in her apartment painting, feeling more inspired than she had in months. Sebastian texted her throughout the day. Nothing important, just checking in, sharing random thoughts. It felt comfortable and right, like they'd been doing this forever instead of just starting. Monday morning, Maya arrived at the gallery to find Alina waiting in her office with coffee and a knowing smile. So, Alina said, I hear congratulations are in order. Both for the successful exhibition and for finally doing something about the insane sexual tension between you and Sebastian. Maya nearly choked on her coffee. How did you know? Sebastian called me yesterday. He wanted to make sure I was comfortable with the situation before moving forward. Like I said, he values honesty. Alina's expression was warm. For what it's worth, I think you're good for him. I haven't seen him this happy in years. We're going to keep it professional at work, Maya promised. I appreciate that, but I also know how these things go. Just be discreet and don't let it interfere with your work. Speaking of which, we need to start planning the Dane stall for your exhibition and figure out logistics for the Morrison Commission. They spent the morning working on business details. Maya had her twice-weekly meeting with Sebastian scheduled for 2, and she found herself watching the clock, nervous and excited in equal measure. When she knocked on the conference room door at precisely 2, Sebastian called for her to enter. He was at the table, laptop open, but when he saw her, his expression softened into something private and warm. "Close the door," he said, and when she did, he stood and crossed to her, pulling her into a kiss that made her forget about professionalism entirely. "I missed you. It's been 2 days. 2 very long days." He rested his forehead against hers. "Okay, I'm done. Professional Sebastian is back." They settled at the table and discussed the Morrison Commission, the timeline for new paintings, and logistics for shipping the sold pieces. Sebastian was all business during the meeting, but every so often, his foot would brush hers under the table, or his hand would linger when passing her a document. "You're terrible at being professional," Maya teased when they finished. "I'm out of practice. It's been a long time since I wanted to be unprofessional with anyone." He closed his laptop. "Have dinner with me tonight. A real date, not a work meeting disguised as dinner." "I'd like that." Sebastian took her to a small Italian restaurant in West Loop, the kind of place that didn't look like much from the outside, but served incredible food. They sat in a corner booth, and for the first time they talked about things that had nothing to do with art or work. Maya learned that Sebastian loved terrible action movies and collected vintage motorcycles. He learned that she was terrible at cooking but excellent at eating, and that she'd always wanted to learn to surf. "I have a house in Malibu," Sebastian said. "I could teach you. I'm a decent surfer." "You have a house in Malibu? Of course you do. What other houses do you have that I don't know about?" "Apartment in New York, a flat in London, the Malibu house. And I'm looking at a place in Paris, but that's still in negotiation." He said it casually, like it was normal to own property on multiple continents. "I own a 10-year-old Honda Civic and a lot of paint supplies," Maya said. "We're basically the same." Sebastian laughed, reaching across the table to take her hand. "I don't care about any of that. You know that, right? The money, the houses, it's just stuff. What matters is that you're talented and passionate and brave enough to hijack a stranger's car when you need to be somewhere. You're never going to let that go, are you?" "Never. It's my favorite story." His thumb traced patterns on her palm. "Can I tell you something? When you got in my car that day, I was having the worst morning. Back-to-back meetings, a deal falling through, everything going wrong. And then this beautiful, panicked woman throws herself into my car and starts giving my driver directions. And suddenly, my whole day shifted. You made everything better just by being you." Maya felt her eyes getting misty. "You made my whole life better. I was so stuck, working a dead-end job, watching other people succeed, feeling like I'd never get my chance. And then you took a risk on me when you had no reason to." "I had every reason to. You're extraordinary, Maya." He lifted her hand and kissed her knuckles. "And I'm falling in love with you." The words hung in the air between them. Maya's breath caught. "Sebastian, you don't have to say it back. I know it's fast, but I believe in being honest, and that's the truth. I'm falling in love with you, and I'm not scared of it." "I'm terrified of it," Maya admitted. Because I'm falling for you too, and this could all go wrong in so many ways, but I can't seem to stop. Then don't stop. We'll figure out the rest together. They stayed at the restaurant until closing, talking about everything and nothing. When Sebastian finally drove her home, he walked her to her door and kissed her good night with a tenderness that made her ache. "I'll see you tomorrow," he murmured against her lips. "Tomorrow," Maya agreed. The next few months were the happiest of Maya's life. She threw herself into the Morrison Commission, creating 3 large-scale cityscapes that were her best work yet. She moved into a new studio in Sebastian's building, a bright space with actual heat and windows that opened. Her relationship with Sebastian deepened, moving from new and exciting to comfortable and real. They kept things professional at the gallery, but everyone knew they were together. Sebastian had made sure of that, introducing Maya as his girlfriend at gallery events, making no secret of how he felt about her. Some people whispered about it, but most were supportive, especially after Maya's exhibition success made it clear she had real talent. They spent weekends at Sebastian's penthouse, a stunning space overlooking the lake that Maya slowly made her own with art and plants, and the comfortable clutter of daily life. Sebastian taught her to cook pasta on his expensive stovetop. Maya taught him to see the city the way she did, finding beauty in forgotten corners. "I never noticed that before," Sebastian said one Sunday afternoon as they walked through a neighborhood Maya wanted to paint. "The way the light hits that fire escape, it's perfect. You notice it now because you're looking. Most people rush past, but there's art everywhere if you slow down enough to see it. Is that your artistic philosophy?" "It's my life philosophy." Maya squeezed his hand. "Slow down, pay attention, don't be afraid to get in the wrong car." Sebastian laughed and pulled her in for a kiss right there on the sidewalk, not caring who saw. 6 months after the exhibition, Maya delivered the Morrison Commission pieces. Richard was thrilled, immediately asking about her availability for another project. Word spread, and suddenly Maya had a waiting list of collectors interested in her work. Elena gave her more responsibilities at the gallery, and Maya found she loved curating almost as much as creating. One evening in early fall, Sebastian took Maya back to the Italian restaurant where they'd had their first real date. She noticed immediately that he seemed nervous, playing with his wine glass, adjusting his collar. "Is everything okay?" Maya asked. "Everything's perfect. That's actually what I want to talk about." Sebastian reached across the table and took her hand. "Maya, these last 6 months have been the best of my life. You've made me happier than I knew I could be. You've changed how I see everything. Art, the city, myself. And I don't want to spend another day without knowing your mind completely." He pulled a small box from his pocket, and Maya's heart stopped. Sebastian opened it to reveal a stunning ring, a simple diamond on a platinum band that caught the light beautifully. "I know we haven't been together that long, and if you want to wait, I understand. But I also know that when something is right, it's right. I love you, Maya. Will you marry me?" Maya was crying, happy tears streaming down her face. "Yes, God, yes, I love you so much." Sebastian slipped the ring onto her finger, then came around the table to kiss her while the other diners applauded. Maya laughed through her tears, overwhelmed with joy. "I can't believe you proposed at our restaurant," she said when they finally broke apart. "I wanted it to be special, but also just us. No grand gestures, just the truth." Sebastian wiped away her tears with his thumbs. "You're going to be my wife. I get to spend the rest of my life with the woman who hijacked my car." "And you get to tell that story at our wedding," Maya teased. "Obviously. It's the best story I have." They were married 6 months later in a small ceremony at the gallery, surrounded by Maya's paintings and their closest friends and family. Elena served as Maya's maid of honor. Jenna gave a speech that made everyone laugh, and Sebastian's vows included a promise to always let Maya pick the restaurant since her taste was better than his. Maya wore a simple white dress and felt more beautiful than she ever had. When Sebastian kissed her as his wife for the first time, she thought about that morning almost a year ago when she jumped into the wrong car, panicked and late and desperate. She'd had no idea she was jumping into her future. 2 years later, Maya stood in the upstairs gallery at Mendoza, watching visitors interact with her newest exhibition. She'd come so far since that first show. 3 more solo exhibitions, commissions from major collectors, features in art magazines. But she was most proud of this exhibition because it wasn't just her work. Sebastian appeared beside her, slipping an arm around her waist. "How are you feeling?" "Nervous, excited, grateful." Maya leaned into him, feeling the solid warmth of his body against hers. "Thank you for this. You earned it. Your mentorship program was brilliant." Sebastian kissed her temple. 10 emerging artists, all getting their first exhibitions. "You're changing lives, Maya." "We're changing lives," she corrected. The program had been her idea, but Sebastian had funded it, working with Maya to create opportunities for artists who'd been exactly where she was. Talented but unseen, struggling but determined. Maya's hand drifted to her stomach, to the barely there bump that only she and Sebastian knew about. In 6 months, they'd have a baby. A tiny person who'd grow up surrounded by art and love, and the story of how their parents met because Maya had accidentally gotten in the wrong car. "What are you thinking about?" Sebastian asked, following her hand. "How lucky I am, how much I love you, how glad I am that I was running late that day." "Me too." Sebastian's hand covered hers on her stomach. "Though I would have found you eventually. Some things are meant to be." "You really believe that?" "I really do. You were always going to be my wife, Maya. Whether you hijacked my car, or we met at a gallery opening, or you spilled coffee on me at a cafe, we would have found each other." He turned her to face him. "I believe in fate, but I also believe in taking chances, and you're the best chance I ever took." Maya kissed him there in the gallery, surrounded by art and light and possibility. Outside, the city continued its endless rhythm, full of stories waiting to be told, lives waiting to intersect, wrong cars waiting to become exactly right. "Come on," Sebastian said, taking her hand. "Let's go meet the artists. They're nervous, and you're the only one who can make them feel better." "Why me?" "Because you've been where they are, and look where you ended up." He gestured around the gallery, at her life, at everything they'd built together. "If that's not inspiration, I don't know what is." Maya squeezed his hand and let him lead her toward the next chapter of their story, grateful for every moment that had brought her here. The panic, the confusion, the accidental car ride that had changed absolutely everything. She'd gotten into the wrong car that day, but somehow it had taken her exactly where she needed to go.